Okay, hi everyone. We have Karthik with us today to help us understand the part and parcel of daily life during MBA. So welcome Karthik. But before I pass on and let you speak, I'll just set the tone for the day's session today. So the first thing, why this session? This session is very important for everyone to understand what actually happens in a B school, right? So far, whatever we prepared for is more of a peer pressure or what our seniors have been doing. We've not understood will do our strengths match with what we are wanting to do. So we have Karthik with us from SPJIMR, who's studying in SPJIMR, is in the second year right now. He'll help us understand, give a bird's eye view, and maybe some detail about SPJIMR, and help us understand what actually happens in a B school. Okay, so that's the session. However, during the course of the session, I make it very clear that you'll understand that the faculty, the B school is looking for students from a diverse background. Though we have a lot of misconception that they're looking for engineers, we'll understand that are they actually looking for engineers? That's my point of view. We'll understand it from Karthik that are they actually looking for engineers? Are engineers able to be better in MBA, or are they actually looking for a diverse group? To my mind, they're looking for a diverse group. Yes, but whoever ends up being on the top is getting selected. So that's how it is. However, there's no hard and fast rule of that. These are the 5 traits or these are the 10 traits that the B school is looking for, right? That's how it is. So over to you, Karthik. How I would want you to go about this session is that speak your heart out. There's nothing right or there's nothing wrong. Even if you feel whatever you want to say, and then we'll start taking questions, and we'll want to understand. Even if questions are not coming, I'll want to understand it because this channel, this session would be seen on YouTube by people who are not seeing it today would be seeing it later. So I'll ask you questions to understand what is actually the part and parcel of a B school life, right? So over to you. Please just give us a brief introduction about yourself so that anyone who's listening to you later is also, understands who is he listening to. Over to you.
Thanks, Deepak, for that nice introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Karthik. I am a 2019 computer science graduate. I worked in Microsoft for 2 years, post which I joined SPJIMR for my MBA. Currently, I am a second year student of information management at SPJIMR. Giving you a brief background about myself as well. I have been born and brought up in multiple places because my father had a transferable job, and thus I had an enriching experience of living in different parts of India and have experiencing multitude of cultures as well. And I believe that that has helped me shape my personality. Meeting different people really helps to get different perspective and different viewpoints, and that really helps build your character. Now, coming to the point on how I probably landed up doing an MBA. So, just giving you a brief background prior to that as well, I was very interested in joining the armed forces, and I had managed to crack the prestigious OTA exam, and I had also joined the armed forces. But due to a personal reason and a medical issue, I had to drop out of it. So, I mean, this is just to give you a context that life isn't all about fairy tales. It will have its own set of difficulties, but it's up to you on how you overcome those difficulties and how you chart out a path for yourself. Definitely, I was very heartbroken and shattered when that happened with me, but I did not lose my focus. I still continued on my academics. And then I realized that there's no point crying over spilled milk. You have to move on, and the faster you get up and move on, the better it will be for you. Then I thought that probably I have more inclination towards the business aspect of things rather than staying in a technical role. I did not aspire to become a software developer, to be honest, even though I had a computer science degree, I never coded. So I thought that, yep, So even in Microsoft, I was in customer experience and success org, not in the core software developer org, where we used to continuously interact with client, and it was a front client facing role. Post that, I really believe that an MBA would help me get into the more administrative and business side of things, and thus I decided to pursue an MBA. Now again, my MBA journey was not a fairy tale. I first gave CAT in 2019, where I scored 99.
So I'll just
Yeah,
sorry, I'll just
yeah,
interrupt here. So there's a big learning from what he said so far. I like to clear that misconception which everyone over during the preparation of their course have this, that they feel that a particular person started preparing before me, or there's a person who started preparing in the very first year itself. So hang on. You still land up in a B school. He's a live example. You still land up in a good B school, not a B school, good B school, even if, and no one's born studying for MBA. That I should have focused on quant, I should have focused on English. Hang on, no, that does not happen. It does not happen that way. You somewhere realize during your journey that an MBA is important, and hence you start preparing for it. Many people would not have it as their first choice, but then eventually it's actually it happens, right? So someone who's preparing for defense forces and then wanted to get into business still ends up doing an MBA, right? So focus of 1 year can change a lot, is what it is. Yes. So you were saying something else. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
no worries.
So
Yeah, that
a big learning. So I'll tell you something, Karthik. I'm an arts graduate. Okay, I did my so arts graduate in post graduation economics. There I did my MBA, right? And they generally say that a person who's from an arts background does not have a good quant. And trust me, I was teaching quant, and my percentiles. I took a couple of attempts to CAT, uh, and my percentile in, because quant and DI used to be separate sections, in each of the papers was more than 99.5. So let's clear out all these myths. And I think we both of us are here a good example for non-engineering students. I am a good example for a non-engineer that hang on, you could still be very good at quant, and you are a perfect example that even if you're not aspiring, you've not aspired. Now 1 year of effort will definitely help you get through a good B school. Yep, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Deepak. Yes, that was really a good insight that you got out of the story. That is what I was trying to bring out. Thank you for speaking that out aloud
No,
for
no,
our
yeah.
candidates who are watching. Yeah, so again, as I was saying that I gave, so like I got into SPJIMR after my second attempt. I first gave CAT in 2019, in which I had gotten 99 plus percentile. But and I had received calls. I did not receive any calls from A, B, C, L, the top marquee schools that you say at that time. And but apart from that, I had received calls from almost all the other colleges. I did not convert SPJIMR that year, and I had converted a few other colleges like MDI, SJM, SOM, etc. But I decided not to go ahead because I did not want an online experience. Due to COVID, everything was shut from right in 2020, and I did not want to join there. So I took a conscious call of dropping all these and again trying CAT in 2021. Now, what you all might expect is that since I already scored 99 plus, 2021 would be again a cakewalk for me and I would probably score even greater. But hang on, there's a surprise. I just managed 98 percentile this time. I drop a full 1%. And again, I did not get calls from any of the marquee institutes, the top institutes. But life has its own way of sorting things out. This time I managed to convert SPJIMR, and here I am. Now, telling about the CAT paper itself, a few of the people have,
So can I actually give another example here?
yeah,
So
definitely.
I used to take sessions at IIT Delhi when I came to Delhi. I'm speaking from Gurgaon right now. Where I used to take sessions from IIT for IIT Delhi, and the session used to be from 8 o'clock in the night to 10 o'clock in the night. That's the ideal time when they've had their dinner, and they come. So I had a brilliant student, and Cat somehow he took two attempts to the paper. The first attempt he was actually not eligible. Okay, but since the documents are not us, he said, "Sir, मैं देना चाहता हूँ." मैंने बोला ठीक है. So he took it. He got the calls. Okay, he became so complacent. He became so complacent. Next year, he did not. I saw him missing his sessions. Right? He was not there in the sessions. Right? कि हो जाएगा मेरे से अगले साल भी हो जाएगा. So there's another learning here that whenever you're preparing, prepare wholeheartedly. Right? Your percentile this time around could be 99, it could be 99.5, it could be 98. Both these students have the same caliber. It was just about that, it's like Virat Kohli scoring 100 on one day and thinking that the next match he's also going to score 100. No, hang on. Even Virat Kohli has his own failures. Whenever you go, you need to be in a positive mindset. You need to have prepared well, and then you take the paper. So not about any number of attempts don't decide, but what decides is when were you ready, when were you at your peak when you went for the paper. Over to you. I'm sorry, I just thought I'll add an example. So,
Yeah,
things happen even at IIT Delhi, right? Okay, yeah, carry on, please.
yeah, definitely. So I mean the scores in the CAT paper are not a proxy for your caliber. It also depends on how was your day. Maybe you missed a set of DILR here and there, and
One
that
question here or there, one question here or there makes the difference. Yes.
Definite. And that's what happened during the second time. I mean, if I could have solved that one set again, I would have landed in 99 plus bracket. So it
Mm.
really depends. I mean, hard work is definitely there. It's about 80 or 90%. Bulk of it is hard work, but luck also definitely plays a part on that day. How composed you can be in the face of uncertainty. Because I've heard in past experiences as well that sometimes when a section is very difficult, let's say that you thought that your strength was VARC, and if that section is very difficult, even getting a low score in that section might fetch you a higher percentile. But then you shouldn't let that affect the subsequent sections. How well you are able to maintain yourself in the face of hardship is what decides your CAT score during that time. Now, yep, coming back to the calls, like what happens post the calls. So once the scores are released, etc., you then get on with your interview preparation. Now, that's again a very big deal because most of the interviews have a very hefty weightage in all these selection processes. And sometimes you don't even know what the weightage is. For example, coming to the example of SPJIMR, I guess it is the only college, I mean, the top college, if you want to categorize it in that way, that takes people who have even scored maybe 90, 91, 92 with 90, those kind of percentiles. And any of the other top colleges, you might not have heard people getting in with that score. So I believe that interview really is a super critical part. It's either make or break for you. Now, how can you be better prepared for these interviews and the subsequent processes that might follow? Again, interviews are not a test of how good or bad you are as a person. It's just a test of your fitment within the whole ecosystem of the college. How well you will be able to interact with people, how well will you be able to fit in the culture of the college, how well do you represent the values of a college. At the end of the day, they also want to churn out people who would be good managers, who would be able to lead big organizations down the line, who would be able to make critical, who would be able to think critically and make logically sound decisions. And in the process, uplifting the company, obviously, but uplifting the society as a whole as well. Coming to the part about how you could probably prepare for these interviews, I believe that it is very important to have someone else get your answers reviewed from a second person, because whenever you write, a complacency sets in. You might feel that this is the best that I could have done. This is a flawless answer. But then there's also an inherent bias that we human beings have against ourselves. We feel that we have done the best. And because of that, we a lot of times overlook a very few things that seem very odd and jarring. And thus, it's very important that you at least have. So you can have a prep buddy, for instance, if you have joined a coaching, then you have your faculty mentors, you have other group of people who you can refer to. Maybe you can exchange ideas, you can exchange thoughts, you can exchange your answers, and that would help you to gain a new perspective. That would also help you to understand how probably you could have better framed that answer that more suits the need. If you have not joined any coaching, then you might have a friend around you, an alum. Every one of us has someone who already has given CAT, who might, or who is simultaneously appearing with us and preparing for the process. So you can have someone with whom you can discuss everything. You could get your answers reviewed. And now coming to the top questions that are very important. I mean, is tell me about yourself. That is the most important question that you need to prepare for, because that's what drives the interview, and not just for CAT. I mean, any interview in life, any person would just start to tell me about yourself, even if they have your CV, they have your form, they have anything with them. But it's much better if you are able to explain about yourself in a minute to the other person. And I mean, I would again use that cliche term, leave hooks in the tell me about yourself. You might feel that's cliched, everyone talks about it constantly, but that really plays a role. Because think from the perspective of an interviewer, they are interviewing maybe 20, 25, 30 candidates in a day, and even they get bored if people just say, I am from this place, I have done this, these are my scores, etc. Right? Tell me about yourself is a platform that you can leverage to pull your interviews towards your life journey. An interesting tell me about yourself would definitely raise ears. You can mention anything. Maybe if you are a maybe national level player, if you write something, if you are into poetry, if you have any other hobby, you could definitely mention all these things and tell me about yourself, because these are what set these things set you apart as a person. Everyone comes in, they'll say, I have good academics, I have studied, I scored this percentage in CAT, XYZ. Everyone has does that. Everyone has done that, right? But what makes you unique are your hobbies, are your interests, is your life story, what has set you apart from others. So tell me about yourself is an extremely powerful tool that you could use to drive the interview. And that's where all the other questions would probably flow from. The second thing that you can do in an interview is why MBA. Now, being candid here, I was candid that MBA was definitely my second choice. I wanted to get into the armed forces, but since things didn't work out there, MBA was my second choice. Now, if you plan to be really honest, I mean, I'll be really candid with you. A lot of people do MBA because they are not satisfied with their current job or they want to earn high money. That isn't a bad thing, but it doesn't look good as well doing there, right? That you are just here for money. There are n number of other ways of earning money as well. You just can't bank on the fact that I really want to earn money and I am just a person who is motivated by money. You ought to show something else as well. Maybe um, you really wanted to explore how a overall business functions, because undergraduate is a very technical specific degree where it just teaches you about a specific part of that degree, but an MBA would give you a holistic perspective. So I'll just tell you how that works. So for instance, during my first year itself, I studied courses in marketing, I studied financial accounting, I studied corporate finance, I studied operations research, operations management, I studied people and performance, that's an HR course. I studied digital technologies for business, that's an IM course. Now, the interesting thing about an MBA college is that these things will not be purely theoretical. You will have a lot of case studies that will help you. So you read case studies prior to the class, then you have a healthy discussion amongst your peers, and from those discussions come out the concepts. When you really see that after those discussions, this is what the teachers were trying to convey, that's like a eureka moment. That's what really makes an MBA fun. Because I mean, as per my experience and talking with a lot of other friends as well, most of the people don't find their undergraduate courses very interesting. Now, why is that? That's specifically because it's more theoretical. They are focusing on delivering the theoretical aspect of things, but MBA courses in general are very practically oriented, very focused on how the use cases of a particular theoretical concept could be, and nothing better to explain those use cases than a case study. I'll again so now I mentioned group discussion here, if you had noticed, right? So that's what, again, jumping back the hoop, a few of the processes you have a group discussion. uh, for selection in few of the colleges, right? That's the importance of a group discussion. You might think that group discussions are a waste of time during the interview process, what help they might provide. But that's where they come in, because in MBA classes, you have a lot of group discussions. And if you are not able to convey your thoughts, if you're not able to actively participate in a group discussion, that would be a loss, not just for yourself, but for the whole group as well, because you might have very unique perspectives and different perspectives. But if you are unable to convey them to the group, then it's as good as not having any perspective and any say on that particular topic. Thus, one thing that I would like you all to focus on is improving your communication skills. Giving my example, even I was very shy and hesitant to speak during my initial years, but I made a conscious effort to actively participate in more discussions, push my boundaries, push my comfort zone, try topics that are a little unconventional, that are outside my comfort zone. And that's what has helped me, become the person that I am now. I'm very confident. I do not feel shy in participating in group discussions and voicing out my opinion. And it's not just, group discussions are not just about voicing out your own opinion. These are also about listening to other people. It's a very critical part, because we humans are social creatures. Um, we live and thrive when we interact with others. So if you are not a good listener, your knowledge would also be very limited. It would be very small, and that would harm you in the longer run. Coming to the next part, the next question that we were talking about, the next question that you ought to prepare for after why MBA is probably why a particular specialization. Now, that might be a little dicey questions, because honestly, I mean, in India, we have a culture of directly going for MBA after your undergraduate as well. Whereas if you are aware, in international world, in foreign, you need minimum of 5 years of experience. Why is that? Is because, again, as I said, MBA involves a lot of peer learning. You have courses, you have case studies, but you learn a lot from the peer group that you are in by discussions with them. Not just in classes, but maybe you're just going out over a chai in your room, etc. So definitely, though work experience is not a deal breaker per se, but it really helps to see the world from another side.
Can I add something here, Karthik?
Definitely, Deepak.
See, as what I understand, and I agree to completely agree to just putting an example here. However, I completely agree to what you say. So it's like, undergrad is more of a direct correlation of what you studying, how many hours are you putting in, and what are you able to write down. However, real life is different. It's a complex combination and expression of the interactions of one human being with the other, with multiple human beings. And the learning in life continues when you interact with a lot of people. Okay. So even when you're interacting, let's take, so I'm an entrepreneur now. I've been a banker for good 15 years. I'm an entrepreneur now. So I have an IT person whom I have to interact with. I have an HR person I have to interact with. I have, a financial person I have to interact with. I have my chartered accountant I have to interact with. And what I understand out of all those, I have to actually implement it, or whatever comes in my mind. So if I'm now putting it, if I have to speak in a group discussion, whatever comes in my mind is actually what I run through all of them. What are their views on it? Is what finally is the outcome of the discussion. So, group discussions form an integral part of your life from now on for students who have appeared for CAT 22. They'll always be an integral part of your life now. So you start preparing for group discussions. The faculties evaluate you on group discussions as well. And finally, B schools are full of it. Post B schools, anyways, it's also all about group discussions. Yes. Okay. Over to you. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Definitely, definitely. That's what I was coming to. Because once you join a corporate world, I mean, for people with experience who are watching this, meetings are an important part of corporate life as well. Though you might say that this decision was taken by X person, Y person, but that's only for the accountability purpose. At the end of the day, their decisions are also made up by their team, by intense discussions with their team, by brainstorming those ideas. right? So again, I mean, group discussions are gonna be a part and parcel of your life. Just giving you a naive example, even the dinners that you have with your family are nothing but group discussions, right? Four of you are
Exactly. Even
sitting
the
around.
parties which you have, the parties which I have rather, you're still young guys, you'll be discussing a lot of extra stuff. But the parties which I have, even with my relatives, is all about, what is he doing in his business? What am I doing in my business? How can we take it further? What are our targets of growing the whole thing? So that's how it is. Yes, you're right. So even a dinner is with the family is a group discussion. Yes.
Yes. Now, coming back to the what specialization you are interested in, definitely as a fresher, you might have difficulty in deciding what specialization you might want to opt for. And that's absolutely fine because you haven't entered the corporate world. You just have a vague idea about what an MBA is. Probably you gave an MBA because you might have heard कि मेरे चाचा के बेटी ने दिया था और फिर उसका 2 साल बाद 30 लाख का पैकेज लग गया
How
तो
to completely bang on. So 90% of us, of the students of us, when we were students, got motivated like that. Yes.
yeah, so you might not be aware, and that's totally fine. But now, especially now with you all have access to internet, mobile 24/7. So it doesn't harm to do some amount of research on what life post MBA is, what different specializations that are present there, and what interests you in general, prima facie. Obviously, you won't have in-depth knowledge about what interests you, but it's good to explore and leverage the power of internet. And even after that, it's fine. You can still go ahead and say that I'm still open to exploring since I do not have any experience and I will be going into the college and then seeing what I want to pursue. For people with work experience, this becomes a little more tricky to navigate because it is expected that since you have seen the insides of a corporate world maybe for a year, and year is again a little short time span, but maybe if you have been for maybe 15, 18, 20 months, they expect you that you would have probably interacted with different functions inside a corporate and have a fair bit of idea on what you want to pursue. But you can still go ahead and say that I still want to go and explore what I want to do post my first year, what specialization I want to take. But it's good to at least have a viewpoint based on your current knowledge. Maybe let's say I was working in Microsoft in customer experience and success. So even though I had said that I am open to exploring different domains like marketing, finance, etc., but based on my current experience, I would probably like to go into the IT side, maybe as a product manager or as a technical account manager. So it's fine to say that you still want to explore, and that might be true as well, but it also helps to have some viewpoint because working for 2 years, you are bound to have a viewpoint on what is good for you, what interests you, etc. Now, coming to the important question of you might want to choose, or this question really comes up, right? Which college are you gonna join? I have calls from, I mean, X, Y, Z, Alpha, Beta, Gamma colleges. Which college should I get into? That's a very critical call. You might refer to n number of rankings, talk to n number of people, and they might have different opinions on where you want to go. But a thing that might help you in deciding which college you want to join is might be probably talking to the alumni of those colleges. Talk to n number of people. Again, as I said, that you might have performed your own due diligence and research on what area you might be interested in. A few of the colleges are specifically known, though they are in general good for a lot of things. For instance, Calcutta is generally said that it's good for finance folks. NEET, it's said that it's a mecca of operations. So see where your heart lies, what interests you have, and then probably decide. But a very important thing here is that don't fall into this trap before you have all these calls at your disposal. Before, I mean, go into each of the interview as if that's the only interview you have, that's the only call you have, and you have to surely convert it. Because what I have seen is that if you make up your mind prior to getting a call, your interview might not go as well. Because even though you might say that I have not decided, I am still open for options, but at the back of the mind, you will still have an apprehension that this is not the college that I want to get into, and you might perform subpar there. And God forbid, if you aren't able to convert your dream college, then that might be a very bad thing for you. So as it said that you should have something in your plate, and only then you should decide. So it's better that you do not decide during the interview stage itself which college you want to get into. It's good to have offer letters from multiple colleges, and then having the sweet problem of deciding from too many that where you want to go. Deepak, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, we at Hitbullseye front desk, we help you. So students end up taking a lot of mock chats. We help you, fill up the colleges as per the percentiles that you've been getting in the mock papers. We ideally advise, however, still some students only say that they want to get into, they want to drop in here and get into particular B school only. Uh, though we encourage that, we ask them to apply, but we definitely say that apply to certain colleges which are below the percentile that you're also getting, because the sweet problem of deciding which college you have to get into should be decided after you've converted the college, not before you've right. That's the decision which you have to take after you have the calls that hang on. These are the 5 colleges I've got a call from, final call from. Where do I join? Right. So very rightly said, Karthik. That's a very mature thought process that you're putting across, and that's how it should happen.
Thank you, Deepak. Now, continuing ahead from that, the next set of questions that you should be aware of are your strengths and weaknesses. Now, that again is a very cliched question.
So you tell
Everyone.
me, actually, Karthik, tell me, what did they ask you in SPJ? What was your interview in SPJ? How did it go?
Okay.
Yeah, that
Okay.
actually give us the real time experience, understanding.
Oh,
Sorry. Yeah.
okay. So they again started to tell me about yourself. So SPJIMR has a group interview, if you all are aware about. I'll tell you what the special dynamics group interviews bring in later on. But they start. I guess I had a total of 5 people in my panel, and we had 2 professors, which I later got to know. One professor was from the information management specialization, and another professor was from operations specialization. And my other colleagues were all from different specializations. So we had a healthy mix of people from all the different specializations that SPJIMR offers. Now they started with the basic question of tell me about yourself. I was the fourth in their pecking order, so I already heard introduction about 3 people. Then it was my chance. Then they started asking the finance person about balance sheets, about technical concepts of accounting, etc., so on and so forth. Then they came to me. The first question they directly asked me was, what are the new technologies that you know about information management? So all these new technologies, and this is applicable even for all of you. I mean, even in the current world, all these new technologies like AI, ML, blockchain, edge computing, etc., are really transforming, because information management is an enabler of your potential. You might have heard that how technology is transforming each and every aspect of the business. So all these new technologies, and as a person from maybe IM specialization, you would be at the forefront of driving these changes in any organization. So they asked me about what these technologies are. Then they delved deeper into what specifically is big data, what are the different things of big data. Then they again jumped on to a few other people. Then they again came back to me. They asked me a very interesting
So it
question
was
about.
it was mixed. They were just asking randomly. It was not one by one. They were
Yes,
just asking randomly. Okay.
yes. So the dynamics in a group interview is that they will ask a person about a question, then they will jump to someone else. Then maybe they will again come back to you. And the interesting thing about group dynamics is that they asked me that what was the question that I asked the previous guy. So you
Uh,
just can't doze off in between. You need to listen to others. So again, that group discussion point comes in, that you need to, and it's just respectful that when someone else is speaking, you got to listen to them as well, as a courtesy. So they asked me that what was the question that I asked the previous guy, and when I was able to answer it, I saw that maybe I earned a few brownie points there.
yes. Right.
Now, the
Like.
next question
Uh,
was about SPJIMR's logo. So that was the next point I was coming to, that whenever you go in any of the interviews, it helps to do at least half an hour research about that particular college, the mission statement of the college, the vision, the values it holds to its regards, what is the meaning of a college's logo, probably who is the dean, and then the final question, why SPJIMR or why XYZ college. This was a common question that I encountered almost in all of my multiple interviews. And when I answered this, I mean, any of these related questions, I saw that the interviewers beamed a little because they do not expect a person to perform thorough research. So if you have done this research, I probably can guarantee you that this will probably earn you a few extra marks that might help you tide over the other person.
Yeah, very right. So it's like, why our college, you again pointed out, and this was the second time you've been in your conversation, you pointed out that you said that. So knowing about the college, why do you rightly pointed out? Yes. So what else? So apart from the technical stuff, anything else which they asked you? Did they grill you actually?
It wasn't a grilling, sir. That is what I was coming to. Most of the MBA interviews seemed like a friendly conversation. They are trying to know you. They are not there to reject you. Probably I have heard a few places, a few interviews which are sort of infamous for their stress interviews, but in general I guess 90% of the interviews are friendly conversations.
Yes, they're trying to know you. Do you fit into the whole thing? Is what their primary objective is. I definitely agree with you. Okay. So any other thing which you would like to point out from your interview, which was unique?
Yep. So SPJIMR has a two-staged process: group interview one and then group interview two is more about your ethics and ethical dilemma. So they had asked me a question that, so if you all recall, during 2021, the vaccines were only present for the government workers and flew through the government channel. So they presented an ethical dilemma that if the vaccines are getting expired, I mean, they are near their expiry date. Should you sell them to the private citizens? Because it was a raging hot debate during that time that, okay, apart from healthcare workers. And another aspect was, should you also export these vaccines to foreign countries when your own citizens are unvaccinated? So these two topics were very hotly contested during 2021. So this was an ethical dilemma that they gave us, that what are your views on this? Should government proceed or not? So during that time, whenever such ethical dilemmas are thrown at you, it's very important to maintain your conviction. If you believe something is right. Now, coming to the point, ethical dilemmas are not always black and white. There are always gray areas. You cannot satisfy everyone there. If you are taking a path, there are bound to be people who would be unsatisfied, but that's life. I mean, just giving you an example, post MBA, if you'll become a people manager, you will give X hike to someone and Y hike to someone. You that's a zero sum game. You always have a fixed quota there, right? So someone will be dissatisfied there. Similarly, ethical dilemmas are like that. You can't satisfy
Yes,
everyone.
yes, definitely. Ethical dilemmas are right. There's nothing right. There's nothing wrong. You
Yeah,
have to
it
actually, yes, put your
yeah,
point across. Yes,
correct.
and yeah.
And putting your point across, a very important thing that I guess helped me sail through was having conviction about what I believed in. I wasn't swayed by what others were saying continuously, while at the same time accepting their points of view as well. I mean, they aren't your opponents. You are just trying to think about a problem constructively and ensuring that you do not miss a point of view there. So, in all these questions, I mean, not just for ethical dilemmas, but for any of the questions that is asked in any of the interviews, just ensure that you state your assumptions very clearly. There might be 10 ways of answering, and two ways might be totally opposite, totally polar opposites. But it's very important to state what you are thinking, your assumptions upon which you have built that particular answer, firstly. And second is having conviction in your own answer. They might try to probe deeper. They might try to question you a level or two deeper, but you have to be confident enough to answer that. It's not that if they pointed out some fallacy in that, I mean, if there is some logical fallacy in your answer and if you get to know it, it's also very graceful to accept that you missed that particular path. So these interviews are not just about trying to prove your point of view. It's about that if someone else has made a very good point that you might have missed, acknowledging that point and then incorporating that into your thought process and then giving out the next path. So that's a very important skill of critical thinking that is also at play in any of the interviews. that you might have there. And finally, yeah, one another thing was that most of you might think that my interview just lasted for 10 minutes while the candidate that went in prior to me lasted 30 minutes. So I will definitely not be selected. I assure you that it's not the case. Again, I have a personal anecdote here for my SPJIMR interview, the group GI2. I probably got a cumulative time of speaking of maybe 10 minutes out of 60 odd minutes for four people. And they grilled some other person for a long time. I thought that maybe I will definitely not get selected, but I went in directly through the first list itself without any wait list. So the quantity of your answers doesn't matter. What matters is your quality, how clearly and concisely you are able to put forth your thoughts, while again taking the whole picture into consideration and thinking critically and logically there. So this was my interview experience in SPJIMR.
Okay, great. So how has been, if anything else you would like to state, or I'll give you time towards the end, then, asking that if we missed something that you would like to point out here. But so how has been your experience at SPJ, Jen, so far?
Yes, so my experience at SPJIMR has been definitely great. Again, we were a partial COVID batch. The initial first, so we have a trimester system here. So the first trimester went completely online because we were still in a dilemma, should we open completely or not? But they started calling us in batches towards end of September. And in mid of October, we had the complete batch here, post which they created a bio bubble. So we weren't allowed to go out. We had to stay in the campus, etc. But then it was a really fun experience coming back to that classroom setting, meeting a lot of people after 2 years of corporate experience. No matter how much you say that you have freedom in corporate, you have money to spend, etc. But classroom experience is definitely that you would cherish. After your undergraduate, you again meet a hell lot of people. Like 240 of us are a family here. You won't be able to meet such a huge amount of people during corporate life. I can guarantee that.
Right.
Right. So now coming to the daily schedule that I have here, the class, I mean, during the first year, the classes were definitely hectic. The classes used to begin at 9, so we used to wake up at 8ish, get ready for the class, have breakfast, run to the academic block for the classes. Classes usually lasted for 70 minutes with a 20 minutes break in between. Now, these classes are definitely going to be dense for you. I'm not mincing any words or trying to sugarcoat, but these classes are gonna be dense because just imagine that during your undergraduate, you just had 2 semesters during a year, and now you have three. So that's about 50% jump, 1.5x the amount that you are gonna study during the same time. So the classes are gonna be dense, but they are also gonna be fun because they will be much more interactive. Those would be much more interesting. You have multitude of use cases that you would be able to relate to as personally. And what fascinated me the most was I could then really experience how business decisions were taken at a larger level. I always used to wonder how a particular decision is taken, how maybe let's say Unilever decides which brand of soap to sell, maybe how much to produce, how much stocks to keep, inventory, how to market, etc. Right? So all these courses are really gonna be interesting. These will open your mind to whole new perspectives because most of us wouldn't know all of these things. Even if you come with an experience, let's say you have an experience in marketing, but that would just be 10 or 15%. Everything else would be new and very enthralling as well. Classes usually used to last until 6 with an hour for lunch, but we also used to have quizzes. So your life would be interspersed with quizzes, group assignments, discussions, presentations, etc. And those will eat up a lot of your time. You might have heard people saying that you don't get more than 3 to 4 hours of sleep during an MBA. But I believe that there are specifically 4 pillars across which you can allocate your time. First pillar is socialization, how much time you want to spend with your friends, gossiping, having fun, relaxing, etc. The second pillar is academics. How much you want to focus on academics? Do you really want to be topper of the class, or you just want to get decent marks? Third is corporate competitions. Another thing that sets an MBA apart is the presence of corporate competition. So you might think that how do these companies come up with their strategies? So it's again a way of maybe crowdsourcing the strategies. They release their live projects, let's say Mondelez, that's the parent company of Cadbury, has
That's
released
released,
a
yes.
yeah, so that has released a statement saying that they want to enter into the Nutri biscuit, that's segment. So design a go-to-market strategy for them, and they roll it as a corporate competition wherein maybe hundreds of team participate from different B schools. They evaluate those ideas and then they give out prizes. So these corporate competitions actually help you stay in touch with the real world. These are real world problems that any of these companies are facing, and your idea might be the next big thing that might help a particular company break into a totally new market or launch a new product that they might be struggling with. So this was the third pillar, corporate competitions, and the fourth pillar was definitely sleep. So you have 24 hours. You got to allocate your time across these different pillars. Anyway, classes are definitely going to consume maybe 7 to 8 hours. So you can subtract those. So you have 16 hours, out of which again assignments would be 2 or 3 hours. So you have about 10 or 11 hours to allocate between maybe socializing with your friends, going to your room and studying, doing corporate case competitions, and obviously sleep. So not just in MBA, but everything in life is about prioritization. And you won't rue the fact, though, that you just slept for 3 or 4 hours because, as a famous comedian has said, "Yahi baatein to baad mein yaad aayenge."
And that's what everyone is doing there. Am I
Yes,
right? Yes, everyone
yes.
is doing this. So if you are with people who sleep for 15 hours, you also sleep for 15 hours, you're not doing anything different. Okay. And you become like that. If you're with people who are sleeping only for a few hours, and that orientation is like that. Am I right, Karthik?
Yes, so definitely the company that you are in molds how you behave at a place. I mean, if you are in a fast-paced world, you will adjust accordingly because we humans are very adaptable creatures. So the company also matters a lot there. The group of friends that you get, how they behave, how
So you from
anything.
an engineering background. So first question there, another question there is that what's the composition of the batch? Obviously, we all know that SPJIMR prefers people with students with work experience. Apart from that, so not asking you that, uh, what's the composition of the batch? Are there mostly engineers, or are there? It's a mixed group.
So coming to the composition, so since we already have a specialization here, so the information management folks and the operation folks are definitely people with at least 15 months of work experience here,
Okay. Okay.
specifically in their domain. So most of the people in information management and operations are engineers,
Yes.
unless and
Obviously. Yeah.
yes. Now coming to the marketing folks and the finance folks, you would be surprised to know that there are also few engineers in finance domain as well. So people who have done BTech in, let's say, computer science, etc., and they had a special inclination towards getting into finance. Now, most of the finance batch is non-engineer, probably BCom, Bachelor in Economics, MA, etc. So most of the finance folks, and obviously CACS will always be there in this batch, but most of the finance cohort composed of non-engineers. Now, coming to marketing, you might say about a 50-50 split. Again, now engineers, if you consider 50% engineers is definitely dominating there. But then you also have a very healthy mix of people. We have people who have done who was a dentist. We have someone from a zoology background. We have someone from who prepared for UPSC, but they couldn't clear, so they came back here. And obviously we have people who have also worked in pure marketing firms there. So overall, I believe that it's a very healthy mix of people. Now you all might be thinking that what's the role of a dentist, what can
Mm.
they contribute potentially? But if you think about it, during the COVID times, I mean, the people that we were in need of most were these doctors, etc. Now just imagine if you had a doctor who was probably also an MBA, who had a good knowledge of how operations works, how could they better or efficiently manage operations, how crazy skill set would that be, right? So they bring in a whole new different
They
perspective.
get a yeah, yes, they get a very different perspective, and ignoring a perspective is actually being closing your eyes to a particular scenario situation which could develop in the future, right? So having at least one of that kind is opening yourself up and hang on that that person could just get a new perspective, right? Yes.
Definitely. And that, I mean, that one person has the power to influence 240 others if their viewpoint is strong enough. So that's again the beauty here, that you aren't restricted by the so-called number of people who support a particular view, but it's again the quality of a particular view that's in talks here. So yeah, that's again a very important part. And again, MBA is all about learning persuasion and working in a group as well, because post MBA you'd probably be going at a kind of middle level managerial position where you have to influence people. And sometimes it's also about influencing without power. I mean, you probably wouldn't have a formal authority over them, but you also need their support to get the tasks done.
So what do you think makes a student get into SPJIMR?
Okay.
Is there any answer? There's no answer to it.
So again, this is a blanket statement, not just for SPJIMR, but
Any college.
for any college. First, that definitely matters is your hard work. How prepared are you with respect to those questions? So as I listed down those few initial questions that everyone needs to be prepared for, those are very important. And on top of that, you got to communicate. You got to have communication skills. You need to be able to express yourself in a way that the other person also understands, and a cheerful personality, that's definitely a must. The way they select people, I mean, to put it very in a bland way, is that if I wake up tomorrow morning, do I want to see his face again or not? Right, because you will be
Hmm.
living with those people. They see that, okay, as a professor as well, do I want to see this person in my class every day? So if you have a cheerful bubbly personality, they would definitely enjoy it, that you would also contribute to the class. But if you have a very dull personality, sleepy, who is not at all contributing, then it's because as a professor you also want to give your knowledge to people who want to take it with both the hands, right? You just don't want to come here and blabber. So that's again very important, of having a good cheerful personality, maintaining a smile throughout maybe, and trying to stay calm in stressful situations as well. Don't let that stress or anxiousness get to you. And then obviously trust your hard work, because you would have definitely put in your requisite efforts there, and that would surely revive down the line.
So if just uh, putting it across again, if you go back to all our BBKP sessions, we've always said that the major traits that you require is obviously hard work. So you can hear from Karthik, it's all about hard work in a B school, right? Second, you have to be humble. Third, you have to be calm. By humble, we mean obviously, and I've always clarified in our BBKP sessions that by humble we mean that you need to accept, listen to the other person, and that's how you will learn. Okay, and that is what happens in a B school. The third is calmness. You would be going through stressful situations, stressful scenarios. You cannot lose your calmness. Another thing, so these are rather the primary traits. Another thing, last but not the least, the fourth one is that I've always said that whenever you're preparing even for your MBA, please get like-minded people, interact with like-minded people. Okay, why do we want that? See, you do not want to be no, by like-minded people, I don't mean that. Let's say you're an engineer, you're not studying with an arts person, or anyone else, or you're an arts person. You think that engineer is going to just solve the problems very quickly. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is that if you surround people who are also preparing for the same thing, that motivates you more, makes you sleep less. That healthy competition helps you go for further distance. So that's very important. Am I right, Karthik?
Yep,
If you want
definitely.
to, yes.
Definitely. I mean, having a good peer group also keeps you motivated at times, because I mean, see, if you have been preparing all alone, there would be definitely, not denying that there might be some lows where you would be feeling really down. Having some other person to rely on is very helpful. I mean, it also uplifts you. And even during the MBA, that would really help, because even during MBAs, when the workload becomes too high or we are too stressed out, it helps that you to know that you have someone that you can get back to. Maybe even your roommate that you are staying with, that you could just go there, they would listen to you without any judgment. So it's very critical that to have a good company that would keep on motivating you and keep you, I mean, help you to push your boundaries further and grow as a person.
Any failure so far? or it's only been success in the B school? I'm not asking you intentionally about the defense thing. Yes.
I mean, definitely. So, I mean, there were a few subjects, obviously, coming from an engineering background and propagating that common thought that finance is difficult for engineers. Though I liked studying finance subjects, but corporate finance really went above my head. Bonds, yields,
Yes.
perpetuity,
Corp-
annuity.
No, 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 but okay. So sorry, I'm really curious because, but why would annuity in perpetuity go do that to you? Because that's a simple IRR calculation, and you've been really good in maths, I'm sure. So that's a IRR calculation. Though I am a marketing, I did my majors in marketing, but I did my CFA, so I understand this. But anyways, if
Yeah,
you need any help, you can come to me.
definitely,
I'll
definitely.
a couple of questions here before we proceed to conclude the session. Someone says it's not going to be tougher this time, given that global layoffs have forced people to get back to education. Uh, Harshit, I'd like to answer this question. I don't think that's the case. Please, if that was the case, COVID would have increased the numbers in CAT. That did not happen. Okay, it's like people have realized woken up to the fact that they want to study what would add benefit at the end of 5 years, okay, or maybe at the end of 3 years, 2 years of their uh, studies. It's not something that I am not able to. You'll get another job in another 3 months here, so that's not the case. Layoffs are not going to happen. Are going to change the dynamics of this industry at least. So someone says attended a similar session. That's okay. Really insightful. Very nice. So Karthik, over to you. Next 2 minutes to conclude the session.
All right. So to put it into conclusion, again, enumerating those points that put in your requisite hard work, but then also trust the process and trust your hard work that you have done. And it's okay to relax and chill in between. That's a very critical part. All throughout this session, I have been talking about putting your hard work, doing this, doing that, etc. But recharging is also very important. You need to take a few days off, maybe reward yourself. If you have studied for 10 hours, maybe just go outside, take a tour. It's not that you need to slog in for 16 hours every day continuously for 2 3 months for cracking cat. That would just lead to burnout and maybe even lead to dip in performance. So again, it's very important as in on life that don't overdo things. Take requisite breaks in between. Go play every day for an hour, go for a walk, go for a jog, etc. Because a healthy mind would take you a long way ahead with that. And apart from that, yeah, one very critical thing is that if you have taken any sort of material or coaching, please do that one thing exhaustively. What a lot of people do is that they take 10 resources and then do maybe 10% of each. That's not going to help you. Every resource is designed in a different way with a different learning path in mind. So just focus on any one of these resources and do it exhaustively completely. Post that, pick up another resource and do it. There's no one stopping you, but I would highly recommend you
But
to
finish that particular thing from end to end. There should not be something that you've left, right?
correct.
And where does that thought come from? That thought comes from, please, there's lots of man hours which go into preparing these materials, right? You only mess up your preparation if you pick up something little bit from every course material. Hang on, one, since now that you're a part of hit bullseye end to end, do it. If you still get time, do something else, but first do that, please, right? Very important, right, Karthik? Yes, anything else which you would like to add?
And apart from that, don't be disheartened if you aren't able to score whatever you got, because life has its own plans. It would settle somewhere. If you are not able to get into a college, that's not the end of the road for you. There are many paths that will open up later on. Yeah, I know it sounds like philosophy, but
It
it's
happens.
true. It's true.
I'll give you an example, Karthik, here. So the day I left my job, I was heading a big team, a particular city I was heading for a bank. So, a massive team of hundreds and hundreds of employees. Okay. And then I said, hang on, I want to do something different. And I decided this, entrepreneurship. First 1 month was very difficult. Then, things started falling in place. So you attract what you want, but you have to attract that first, right? You have to want that first. Sorry, if you don't want it, with full heart and mind in sync together, you would not get it. Right?
Yeah,
That's
definitely
anything
agree with
else,
that.
Karthik? Otherwise, it's like we're nearing the finish time.
Yeah,
If
I
you
mean
like
that was all I had, and definitely we
wish
are all open to questions. You could anyways comment, and Deepak would probably could try to
no. We wish you really. We wish all the students really all the best for their preparations. I hope Karthik ended up giving you a limited insight because of the limited time that we had. We wish Karthik all the very best and look forward to a long association from Hitbullseye. That's how I started off with Hitbullseye, and that's how we encourage and we take everyone along. Right? All the best, Karthik. Really nice interacting with you. Thank you from our student side as well, and all the best from their side as well.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thanks a lot, Deepak, and
Bye.
all the best to everyone. Goodbye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.